There are a ton of towers in the game of cube defense, some of them rarer than others, some of them aren't even obtainable anymore. And today we are going to be going over those towers specifically and be showing you guys each and every one of them and how they are unique. Hello everybody, my name is Jingle12 and we are back with another cube defense video. Let's get right into it. Before we get any further, would you please consider hitting the subscribe button down below? That is your choice, not mine, but it does help me out and it helps the channel grow and it helps you get back to my channel so you can find more content similar to this. Now let's go check out all those awesome and rare towers in the game of cube defense. So to open up, we're going to be talking about, as I said earlier, we're going to be talking about specifically towers that are not currently obtainable. That means if you don't own the tower now, you will not own the tower again. I know you guys may be thinking some other rare towers, but no, we are not getting into all the rare other towers that are more uncommon. We're talking about specifically the towers that only players who got them at certain times own. These towers are incredibly rare, and some of them probably more. One of them is actually the most rare in the game currently, and we will be discussing each and every one of them. The egg cannon is probably the most common of the current unobtainable towers, being pretty weak, and from recent 2020 Easter, this tower was honestly well known and well used by a lot of players. The tower is called the egg cannon for a reason, because it is literally a cannon on a cart of wheels. It is a very good looking tower. It's one of my favorite models, honestly. It does really well when it comes to direct damage. It has a minor splash, doesn't really contribute too much, and a pretty small range. This is probably best used against higher HP cubes, but not incredibly high HP cubes. This tower is not actually really that good at defending by itself. It needs support, and even so, it doesn't contribute when it comes to higher levels. This tower is probably best used for lower level, lower wave, high HP cubes. The egg cannon has 5 different colored eggs in the barrel for every upgrade, and the direct damage increases up to 55, which is quite impressive. However, the explosions damage is only 25, which is almost half, which is not horrible, but compared to some other towers, it is really not that good. This is one of 2 Easter towers that have been released in the game, the other being the egg launcher. This tower is the older version of the Easter event tower. It is probably one of the rarest, being back near, if not in, the beta age. This tower is only owned by a very small amount of people. It is owned by only 128 people. This is the smallest amount of people that owns any badge in the game of cube defense. That means that not every other badge currently in the game of cube defense has more players that have obtained the badge than the Cube Quest 2019 badge, making this tower one of, if not the rarest tower in the game. The tower itself holds the same medieval theme, and it is quite a nice looking tower, if I do say so myself. Not my favorite model, but it's still a good model. It's pretty much a catapult that launches an egg with a beautiful animation. It has nice wheels. It has a wooden frame up to level 4, where it obtains a metal frame, and it does increasing damage every level. But the big difference with this tower compared to other towers of its cost and level is the fact that this tower has an incredible range, splash damage range, and splash damage. These numbers are insane. For example, if we go to level 3, which is called Steady Aim, we have a fire rate of 3.2, which is pretty good, a splash damage of 20, a range of 45, and an explosion size of 20. That is incredible. The max egg launcher has a splash damage of 70, an explosion size of 40. It has a range of 50. That is at least a half of the map. For most maps, there are some maps that are incredibly large, but for those that are moderate to minor size, it is at, if not over, half the whole entire map being covered. This tower is truly incredible when it comes to its range and splash damage and splash size. As I said before, the explosion size is 40. This range is 50. If it shoots at the very farthest as it can reach at the 50, it goes another 40 units out. That is double. That is almost doubles its actual range. That's incredible. That tower is truly a joy to own, and I use it all the time in my early defenses, as it is a cheap tower and does really well against both high and low HP cubes. The next tower, and by many considered the joke tower, is the pumpkin launcher. This tower was obtainable for Halloween in 2019. It was quite cheap and sold in the store, and players that owned it got a moderate tower at the time, but as things progressed, it turned into actually probably one of the worst towers in the game, with the damage and splash damage of 1. That has been changed to make it actually usable, and there's still a small joke in the lines there that it still has a temple gain of -1, making it non-usable when it comes to assisting your temple. That temple gain increases by a -1 every single level, up to -5 with the pump explosion. The server limit is 20, making it a high amount of placements that you can actually do. However, the splash damage is almost nothing, only going to 2 at its max level. Every other level being 1. Fire rate is 3.5, which is much slower than the egg launcher. The shadow, it does not have shadow sight. It does have metal sight at maxing, similar to the egg launcher, I do believe, and it's very good now at doing direct damage. However, splash damage, it is almost useless. Its splash damage has no benefits whatsoever and cannot be used as a splash damage tower. Now, this was one of 2 Halloween event towers, the second of which being the Flying Dutchman. The Flying Dutchman was obtained by defeating all 6 maps of the Halloween event. There were a total of 6 maps that you had to defeat, the final of which holding a very high HP cube named Big Chunk. That cube was insane and took a good 15 minutes to kill by itself. However, that cube did not move at almost any way. It was incredibly slow, making it easy to defeat. Once you defeated that cube, you retrieved the Flying Dutchman, another very rare tower, probably not the rarest, but still a rare tower with only 236 people owning it. This tower has a high damage rate, increases the amount of shots it has every upgrade, well, almost every upgrade. It is honestly one of the best towers in the game in terms of damage and splash damage. Direct damage increases every turn, but so does splash damage. The direct damage and splash damage increase slightly, but that does not matter too much. At level 1, you have 3 cannons firing, so whatever damage you're dealing on the statistics, multiply that by 3. So at level 1, 25 times 3, 75 damage at level 1, not to mention splash damage, which is 15 multiplied by 3, 45. This is level 1, I remind you. The splash range is a bit smaller though, with only 12, but that's okay. It still does really well with concentrated cubes. More cannons is the next upgrade. That gives it 2 more cannons firing. That's now multiplied by 5, giving you 125 direct damage. And I believe 75 damage? Yeah, 75 splash damage. That's really incredible. The next tower is Crow's Nest, which just gives it extra range and shadow sight. Deadly Barrage and doubles the amount of cannons on the ship and increases the damage to 35 with splash damage of 20. That is insane. And the max increases the tower's cannons by another 2, leaving you with 12 cannons with a damage of 50 and a splash damage of 20. 50 times 12, my friends, is 600. The splash damage times 12 is 240. The fire rate is every 3 seconds. So every 3 seconds you do 600 damage plus 240 splash damage. That is incredible. The cost to max it is 21,000. That is pretty good, pretty reasonable for the amount of damage it does. It is a good tower, a really good tower to own. I love the tower a lot, and I'm happy to own it. Like almost all the towers I own. It is really impressive. Moving on from these towers, we will begin discussing the Christmas event tower. There was only one Christmas tower released in the game, and this one is called Santa's Sleigh. Santa's Sleigh is simply a different version of the stealth bomber. It does the same sort of action. It does quite a lot of damage. It isn't insane, but it's still pretty good and does good splash and direct damage to cubes. The tower moves along the map. Level 1 has a pretty limited range, but once you reach level 2, which only costs 1,075 money to upgrade, the range increases from 20 to 100. That is an insane difference, giving it range across almost the whole entire map for a lot of maps. It is very, very good at reaching long places, giving it a good amount of damage overall as it can continue firing even as the cube gets farther along the track. It does a whole lot of damage. It drops multiple presents on its targets that explode upon impact. Those presents deal damage per deal the amount of damage set per, so you have 35 damage times, say, 3 presents that Santa drops, which gives you 105 damage overall. That is really good. It really is a good tower to use in support. It is not a main tower, but can be used to help out your defense in some ways. I would suggest using this tower at mid-game level, as it really doesn't do a lot whenever you've got insanely high HP cubes. The next tower that we need to discuss is going to be the Winter Trials towers. We're going to begin with the more common of the two, being the Dat Ice. I would say that the Dat Ice tower is probably the third most rare tower in the game, the second of which being the Egg Launcher. The Dat Ice tower is a pretty good looking tower. It is actually not made by Weeby. This was made by the Bird Hunter. It is one of a very small amount of towers that were not made by Weeby. The other examples being Campfire, Sea Battery, Plasma Tower, and originally Bubble Tower, though that was changed. The Dat Ice tower, I've been told, had to be remodeled multiple times before it was eventually accepted, but it looks really good with how it is right now, and it matches the theme of the Winter Trials. The tower has a snowflake base with a nice crystal on the top that adds particle effects and extra layers as it increases in levels. The tower does a wide area of damage. It does the same sort of damage as the Shocker does, spreading out its cold effect across the whole area every few seconds. Every cube that it hits will be slowed down for a set amount of time depending on the level of the tower, and it does a moderate, very minor amount of damage. This tower is really good at slowing down a lot of cubes at the same time, However, once it slows down the cubes, it cannot re-slow them down until those cubes have resumed their normal speed, giving it a slight negative effect there. The Dead Ice has a nice range at maximum with 20, which is pretty good, not matching the Shocker's max, but still moderate, with the damage of 25 as well, which it is also moderate. The fire rate is sort of slow with 2.5, but it has a server limit of 10. It is honestly good, as I said earlier, for just slowing down cubes if you need more time, but that is about all they do. They also break the frost rail, so those that own the frost rail need to be very careful when using this tower, as it ruins the effect of the frost rail. Which, speaking of the frost rail, we need to go on ahead and discuss this tower. The frost rail is probably, in my opinion, the rarest tower in the game of cube defense, excluding the developers towers, which we do not consider obtainable towers in any way, shape, or form, which is why they are not on my list. The frost rail is, in my opinion, the rarest at one point obtainable tower in the game. The overall amount of people that ever won the winter trials is 152. Now consider that only that the chance of that tower originally being given was 2.5% chance. However, it was changed to where that percentage increased over time. So I do not know the exact amount of people that got the frost rail, but I assume a good portion of those that won the winter trials did not obtain this tower. For those that did, congratulations, you now own the rarest tower in the game as of current. This tower does a special ability that only this tower has, which allows it to completely freeze cubes in place and prevent them from moving. The cubes that are frozen will not move from their position whenever hit, and will stay frozen for a small amount of time before resuming their movement. The Dead Ice originally had this effect as well, but it was nerfed to prevent it from being too overpowered. The frost rail also used to fire a lot faster, being around 0.2 seconds per shot. However, that's been changed now to 2 seconds to further nerf the tower. It really, in my opinion, is a good tower, as it has an incredible damage from the very start with 55, and overall increases all the way up to 750 damage per hit. That is really, really incredible. Combined with its freezing effect, it is impressive, and it does a lot of damage, and it helps slow down the cubes on the track. It is very good when it comes to doing that sort of thing. It has a pretty good range at maximum, and this tower does have a small server limit of 5, making it very limited in the amount of uses you can have for it. How many towers you can have down for it. The tower also has a temple gain starting at 50 and increasing all the way up to 250, making it a really good tower when it comes to attempting to max out your temple. I actually usually use this tower whenever I'm not using the golden light turret, so it is usually the tower that I use to upgrade temples with. The cost is quite high though, with the maxing being 55,750 money to max out, and the cheapest version actually being placed at 6,925 cash, making it a pretty expensive tower to put down. This tower is quite a beautiful tower though. I really do like its design, and it's got the cold effect. Really is overall just a good looking tower, and is useful when it comes to slowing down cubes to a degree. It's not as good as it used to be, however. Now, we've gone over most of the event towers. I believe we have only a couple of towers left to discuss. The first of which being the beta tower named the Spike Factory. This tower currently isn't even in the game, as it is still broken when it comes to placement. The tower used to spawn spike traps all around its area within its range, dealing damage to any cube that hit those spikes. However, that caused a lot of difficulty on Reddit's end to code, and as of current, it is still not re-implemented due to the difficulty of coding that tower together. So as of current, that tower is not in the game. It will come back at some point. I hope it does, at least. But it isn't going, but it is going to be hard to bring back. This tower was awarded for any player that managed to defeat the beta cube in beta of cube defense. And finally, probably one of the probable top 5 rarest towers in the game. I'm not sure if it's the 4th or the 5th. However, this tower is still very, very rare, as it is only owned by 626 people, and as of those 626 people, probably less than 5% of those still play the game of Cube, me being one of them. Lucky me. The heavy turret MK2 is a moderate tower that can be placed for a cheap price, has the pink coloration, looks pretty good, has nice upgrades up to the Cannon of Death. Overall, this tower is okay when it comes to damage and splash damage. It isn't impressive, it doesn't have an insane fire rate, isn't well used like it used to be before the revamp, but it is still a moderate tower, undeniably. I'm honestly surprised the devs have not buffed this tower in some sort of way, as so few amount of people actually use it. Because of its low damage and low amount of people that actually have the tower. I honestly would have expected this tower to get some sort of buff, but as of current, it is still pretty much the same as it's always been when it comes to damage during revamp. The devs have told me themselves they don't really like to change the tower. However, that was a long time ago, so I don't know if that's been changed. If they've changed their mindset on that. At the beginning, the tower has a damage of 20, it has an overall server limit of 25, and a moderate fire rate of 3. It has a good range overall, and it's really just a good tower to have down to deal with your higher HP cubes. However, the Cannon of Death has a direct damage of 50 and an explosion size of 7. It does have an explosion splash damage of 10, making it splash damage tower, but it doesn't do a lot of splash damage, not a high range of splash damage, but it is okay when it comes to dealing with higher HP cubes. And if you were a lower level player coming back to the game of Cube and you haven't played since Alpha, I would definitely suggest using this tower to help you start out. By the way, if you are an alpha player and you've come back to the game of Cube, let me know in the comments below, because I'd like to get to know some of you guys from alpha. It's interesting. I don't see a lot of alpha players out there anymore, so any of them that join in is pretty cool to see. Let me know what you guys think about this Unobtainable Towers video. I thought it went pretty good. I think that you guys will probably enjoy this, but if you didn't, let me know down in the comments below what you think I should have done different. If you did enjoy it, let me know down in the comments below. But yeah, that is the Unobtainable Towers in the current Unobtainable Towers in the game of Cube Defense. I will note that the Winter Trials towers probably will be obtainable again in the future, but since they are currently unobtainable, they have put them on this list as currently unobtainable. That is the video, guys. If you did enjoy, please consider hitting that like button down below if you did enjoy it. And yeah, with that, guys, thank you everybody so much for watching. I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.